Well, we're getting a little bit of a late start today. I wanted to try to get it to warm up some. This is a 2017 Cadillac XT5, and it is getting the transfer case replaced. This is a used unit. I didn't purchase it, the customer did, but it came out of the same vehicle. So what we're going to do is change the oil out in it first, get it somewhat straightened up to where it doesn't look like it came from a junkyard. Probably wouldn't be a bad idea to replace seals if we can find them. It's been my experience recently that you can't get these, so get everything out, get it cleaned up, change the oil in it, and then start putting it in. So this is how it sits in the vehicle. If you're looking from the back of it to the front, this is the rear drive shaft. This is the side that mounts to the actual transmission, and then this is the side that connects to the passenger side front CV axle. I don't know if y'all saw the video, but the front differential on this thing is making a god-awful noise, so we'll change it. Sorry, I'll change it. I'm gonna get this thing out and get it up onto the back of my trailer. I don't even want to turn it over just in case it starts leaking fluid out. It's not very light, but it's definitely not the heaviest transfer case I've ever carried. Alright, that's good. It doesn't just leak out. So it has a drain plug here. And then oh, here it is, right here. This is the drain plug. That one's the fill plug. So we'll drain it out from here, make sure it's level, fill it back up through here. Pretty sure I could probably rebuild this other one, but for time's sake, it makes more sense to just change it. Figure out some way of keeping this thing from hurting me or itself. Find the big Allen wrenches. I do have a box. Seems like an everyday occurrence. I keep losing these things. There's the rear differential for it. Oh, there they are. Along with my mess here. Alright, let's see if I actually have the right one to fit. First time. That's surprising. They're not usually very tight, but in the event they are, you want something that can quickly break the torque. So I used the 3/8 M18 Milwaukee. Walk back here and grab a drain pan. Got a bunch of dirt in it. If you do a lot of mechanic work, these containers here would be your best friend. They are the concrete mixing containers that you get from Home Depot or Lowe's. I use them quite often. They're a little expensive, but they're definitely worth it. That way you don't have to make multiple messes at once. It's not super dirty, but it's definitely not clean. The small amount over these years is pretty good. Whoa. Man, I keep this one up simply because this thing keeps falling off. I've glued it and it still comes off, so sometimes it falls and scares me half to death. Alright, let's see if we can do this without making a mess all over my trailer. They may have already drained it. If they have, then it's a good thing that I decided to come and do this. Any other time I would just put it straight in. Yeah, they've already drained it. Otherwise it'd be pouring fluid out. Just a reminder, if you buy anything secondhand, you want to change the fluid. And if you don't actually change the fluid, you at least need to check and see if there's fluid inside of it, because you don't want to be doing this again. Alright, we'll take, this is a 10 mil Allen. And grab it again, come in the side here. This uses 7590, I believe. I don't know, I've got another one in here. That seal is stuck. Probably should have just left it on there just to be safe. It may not seal back properly. Now then, where have I put the other gear oil? I know it's in here, it's just a matter of figuring out where. This trailer's an absolute disaster. I had someone that was cleaning it. He didn't make it very far. He gave up. I'll eventually get to actually organizing this thing. Let's see. Where, oh, where are you? There's not really a whole lot of places this stuff can be at. I mean, it's in a container that is very distinctive. Hi, puppy. Let's tie off here, that way I don't have to keep fighting with the door flinging open and closed. Well, saw it. 75-140 full synthetic. So I think the capacity on this is actually 1 full quart, if I remember correctly. I've already done this once and I bought 2 of them just to be on the safe side. But I'm fairly certain that's what it is. And here's to hoping that it doesn't start leaking out. If it does, I have to clean this pan out and try to get my transfer pump to start working again. And it's starting to leak from the hole. Seriously, only a half a quart? Yep, this stuff smells exactly like it just sounded. I hate the smell of gear oil. I've never liked it. I don't really like working on differentials anyways, but I know a guy. Alright. Set it back down. Put this back into its home. That's probably one of 30 that are in its actual home. Get some brake parts cleaner and clean up a little bit since I'm running low on brake parts cleaner. Well, I just had a straw for this. Oh, it's in there. And clean the splines up really well. Get all the dirt off. The transmission side as well. Be careful when spraying O-rings because they do like to stretch whenever you get chemicals on them. Alright, it's ready to go in. If only I could just snap my fingers and that one already be out of there. So I'll show here real quick exactly what's going to end up taking place. As I said, this is looking from behind. So your torque tube that goes to the back, or half torque tube, half drive shaft, whatever this may be, it looks a lot like the Camaros, Corvettes. They have a torque tube that mounts in the back of it, but it doesn't go all the way up to the transmission. So this is going to be the drive shaft for the back. This mounts to the transmission. It does have double splines. This is supposed to hold, I think, a pump, and then the input shaft, output shaft. I don't know, it's input shaft, because this is accepting the input drive, that's accepting output, but they're literally one and the same, as you can see. What in the world? Got fluid leaking out of the vent tube. Well, I know that can't sit like that, so get that stinking crap off of there. Oh. You're too empty too. Scrap pile. So yeah, when you go to fill these up, I probably wouldn't advise flipping it over on its head, because then you'll run into the same thing that I'm running into with fluid being everywhere. Here's to hoping that it doesn't pour everywhere. Oh, what was that? It was a pipe. Alright, I'm gonna have to find some more brake parts cleaner. Anywho, I'm gonna go ahead and start getting this thing jacked up and ready to come out. And then I'll start recording another video and then join the two together. This is gonna be a decent amount of work, so I don't wanna look like an idiot trying to hunt for parts or tools or whatever. So I'll be back for y'all. It's gonna feel just like this. Alright, so after a wild goose chase, finally found the axle popper. I've jacked up the whole front end, but I only need the passenger side lifted, since that CV axle is the one that has to come out. And take the tire off, or the rim and tire, whatever you want to call it, the whole assembly here that rotates the vehicle forward, or moves the vehicle forward, whatever you want to call it. Get your axle nut sockets, find the appropriate size, that is a 38, and that's a little too big. That one's way too small. This one, I have absolutely no idea what size it is. Looks like it says 39. Yeah, it's too big. So we'll go back one size. Doesn't look like that one's the right size either. And it looks to me, there we go, that one's in the wrong spot. Yeah, so put your axle nut socket on, spin this axle loose, put that in there, put this in there to where we know exactly which one is which. But here is to hoping that we can get this thing out of here and back in without it needing an alignment. I'm not entirely sure how faithful I am of that, but we'll give it the old college try. I'm gonna have to remove some ABS line here. This strut is it's either gonna have to come loose here or come loose there. And I think the logical thing to do is to take it loose from here. I have to go get a 19 millimeter. This will allow me to turn the wheel all the way to the left and push the CV axle out. I'm pretty sure they have a tool specific for this, just so you don't have to do all this. But I don't have it, so you gotta work with the tools that you have. Alright, to go find the proper equipment. Let's see, we'll grab this and we'll grab this. So this is a 19 or a 3/4, and this is a 17 or slightly smaller than an 11/16. 19 is slightly larger than a 3/4, but usually they both work. I'm going to say that that's probably an 18. It's definitely not a 17. I'm fairly certain that I do have that in here somewhere. 18. How convenient. Or I can use this 18, which would also be convenient, but I think I'm going to use this and then the trusty 3/8 drive. I don't know exactly what size the bolts are. I've not done anything else to this thing since the last portion of that video was recorded. Keep it in a safe place. Grab your hammer. And you want to tap where it goes through. Let's see. Yeah, you can see that. You want to tap here just below the rubber boot. Get a good swing on it. Y'all are probably not going to see this, but I'm standing up pretty much upside down to be able to swing the hammer. Alright, I do believe it came loose. At least it looked like it did. It didn't come loose. It did come loose. Alright, once you get that out, put your nut back on. Turn your wheel, and hopefully that gives us enough space to come out. I'm barely tapping this just so y'all are aware. I'm not beating the fire out of it. Now, I do have an axle popper that I'm going to try to utilize just to get the splines and the threads completely out. Let's see if you'll stay there for a second. Need something to tap in the inside of this. Pretty sure I'm gonna have to take that loose, as it doesn't seem like it wants to come out any other way. Let's see if going, no, forward's definitely not an option. That's not an option. Oh, there it is. So if you do take these loose, be mindful of where it sits on here. You'll be able to tell the difference between this dirty aluminum material and the clean aluminum material. If you can't figure out where to go back, or you're worried that you might not be able to, you can always use a permanent marker. And that's what I'm going to do, because I don't want her to have to go get an alignment done after spending so much money. It's a dry erase marker. That's definitely not going to work. Here we go again. Wild goose chase. Monster. Seriously? do have a marker. Oh, here it is. I knew I had a marker. Make sure to mark far enough in so it gives you an almost perfect mark, and do it on both sides. This one's gonna be a little difficult to get to. Alright, so we have it marked on both sides. Now, switch back off to the 18 millimeter. I'm fairly certain that this is going to spin, but if it doesn't, then that's good, because that means that it's splined. And it might be splined, so that's perfect, because that means that there'll be no issues with lining it back up. Right, so with these, you want to be mindful of the threads. Go in until your bolt is at the very end of your nut, like so. I don't know if you can see that, but I really hope you can. The hammer. That's perfect. It is splined. And do the same with the bottom one that you just did with the top. Now, going back in, if you get this spline started, it should go right in as soon as you start tightening it. Remember, with the nut being off, you can't hit it hard. You don't want to mushroom the head. Alright, so I'm pretty sure now is when I need to take this loose. What? How in the world does that even hold on? Well, I guess that works too. You see it's splined on the bottom side and on the top side. This is the fit for the outer part of the strut. The smaller splines is the fit for the inner portion of the spindle, which you can see inside this hole there is splines. You can only see the splines on this one right here on the bottom, but that's what it's supposed to be for. Alright, the CV axle is loose. Might not be a bad idea to take the caliper off, but I don't think it's really necessary. But you do need to watch for your ride height connector. I forget what the proper name for those are, but sole purpose is for ride height. So if you keep it away from it, you won't have to worry about it breaking. But I think I'm going to go ahead and tap it off of there. Maybe not. It needs to come off though. If it doesn't, then it's going to break. And this is obviously not going to work. You definitely don't want to break anything, so the next option is to take it off. Got this. Have an adapter. I have a couple of these adapters. This one's not supposed to be hammered on, but this is the only thing that I had when I bought this. They didn't have the black one. How are you held on there? It's splined on. Tap right on top of it. I gotta get a trim tool puller. Either that or a flathead screwdriver to be able to get it off the spline. It's crazy to think that everything on here has splines on it. I guess it's a good thing because it's hard to mess it up that way. A little close quarters in here. That looks like it may come up. I'm gonna try that. Yep, it slides up. Man, this is uncomfortable. We'll need to pick this top section out. Or bend it out. It can be bent back in place. It's not too big of a deal. Alright. Now then, that is loose. Let go of my leg. Alright. Now the next thing on the agenda is to get the axle out of the differential. Transfer case. This is a transfer case. This where this guy here comes in handy, and potentially this. I think I'm gonna go try to find my little mini tripod just to set everyone up so you can see what I'm doing. You can probably tell it's going to be a bit of a job to find. Every time I drive this thing, everything that I perfectly put in a place has a tendency of sliding to the back. Oh, there's my little tiny sockets. I was wondering what I did with those. Hello. Where the devil is my... What in the world? I guess that kind of works out, although I don't have a cup holder anymore. I know it's in here somewhere. It's either in here or in the trailer. God forbid it be in the trailer. I may never find it in there. It's not in the center. It's not under the seat. Gotta be in here then. Alright, I did find my tripod finally. After searching for it for about 30 minutes. So, I'm going to move y'all around a little bit. Hopefully you can see everything that I'm doing. I don't know if you can or not, but I'll try to explain what I'm doing along the way. Right now I'm going to pop the axle out. Hopefully. Just to be on the safe side, I'm going to put a stand or a scissor jack under here just to hold up this side so it doesn't go to shaking. Alright, so the jack stand is in, or sorry, the jack is in, since I needed something that had variable height without having to keep getting out. You know, to get this axle out is going to be a chore in itself. You should be able to use the axle popper, but I don't think the axle popper is the solution. It does go in there, but it doesn't function the way it should. I just got it loose. It does function the way it should, if you get a good enough swing on it. That CV axle is officially out of there. Now, on to the next part. I've taken these bolts and stuff out. Claims that this is only a 4.5 hour job. I would say probably on a good day. Definitely not today. Alright, let's see what size. This feels like a 15. So there is a bracket on the outermost portion here that holds the CV end of this. I think there's 3 bolts on this end. Yeah, it ain't happening by hand. see here. Kind of wish I had the other differential out here with me, but I can see it from where I am. And it seems that this composite or plastic engine mount has to come out as well, or transmission mount, diff mount, whatever you want to call this. I'm gonna go find a ratchet wrench real quick and some extensions. Alright, so I did go get some ratcheting wrenches. I've got a 16 and a 17, a 19 and a 15. The only one that I couldn't find in a ratchet wrench is the 18, but I'm not entirely sure I need it. So I'm gonna poke around here and see what all I can get loose and what I can't. Really hoping that this is just a bolt and not a nut on the other side. This is the back side of the transmission mount. This mount does have to come out anyway, so might as well take it out now. It's crazy to think that they only call for 4.5 hours on replacing this. It's probably going to take 4.5 hours just to get it out. Let me move y'all back just a wee bit. And obviously my phone is too heavy. It's knocking the holder over. I would be willing to bet they probably take this entire subframe down in order to do this. But I don't have a lift in order to do it, so it's kind of a moot point. You can already tell I'm about to run into one thing, which would then explain why it would have to come down. There is what looks like fuel lines running right here against this. Yeah. This is gonna be fun. Whoa, that whole thing shifted. May end up putting this jack right here to be able to hold the differential up. Come on. I'm also apparently gonna have to take the drive shaft out before I can get to that point. Go set the emergency brake. Alright, the emergency brake is set. Now to come halfway back of the vehicle and take the carrier loose. I'm not going to move y'all just so I don't have to move you again, because this is not going to take me long. Well, it'll come off of there. It's just gonna need some persuasion. Really hoping that it doesn't damage anything in the process. Let's see. Man alive, how did they get this thing off of there? Wonder if I can slide it out of the back first and then come into the back to the front.
This would be where a lift would come in handy. Alright, it is coming off. It's just slow. Slow and steady. Alright, the back end is off. So let's imitate that on the front end. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to use this spreader. And the further to the back you go, the harder it is to get to anything, more especially on the ground. I have a feeling that as soon as I pop this front side loose, it's gonna fall, probably knock the phone over. I hope not, but maybe. It's coming loose, slowly but surely. It is rough. It doesn't look like it's actually coming loose. So, persuasion time. Get all the grease off my hand. Why do you fight me so? I want you to come out. Get back here and get a little bit of a better swing without getting walloped in the face with stuff. What just happened here? God almighty. This is not exactly a one-man job. This needs to be like a four-man job. Let's see. I think the easiest way to get it done is going to be taking the bolt completely out. But at the same time, it's nearly impossible to get out. Alright, so I rented 2 more axle poppers in hopes to be able to actually get in there and get these out, but they look like the exact same ones that I had. So this is the new one, and this is the old one. Identical. I don't think this method is going to help too much. It would probably help though if I was able to get the car further off the ground, and then I wouldn't have to worry about not being able to get in there and take a good whack at it. So let's just give her the old college try again. I'm fairly certain that it's not going to change anything. Hold the axle up. Put this guy into its home. Yeah, that ain't happening. Nothing changed. Maybe better remounting the back bolts, but this should go in there. I have no strength in my arms right now. Let this guy chill in the air. Let's see. Need to go further up, like to there, back to where the mounting holes are. How convenient. So, that being said, I'm going to remount it, at least loose. I think I'm going to run the one all the way in first and get the other one straight. I knew that was going to happen. Let's see. Need you to go over a little bit. Alright, now that it's re-hung in place, we'll go back to this point and hope that I can get a good enough swing on it to be able to just pop it out. Man, let me tell you, that was a scary noise. I thought the car was coming over. But I think it was just my canopy. I've already run into this issue once, but I had jack stands under here and it slid on the jack stands. Scared me to death. Why are you not moving? There should be enough spring in the axle that it should come out. You can get it to pop loose just a little bit, and I know it's home free. That's the problem though, is getting it to pop loose just a little bit. I think I'm probably going to tell them to take it to Cadillac. Simply because I don't have a lift to be able to get this thing up high enough to be able to take a good swing at it. Man, that's frustrating. Frustrating. Where's my 15 at? It's one thing that I don't like to do is admit defeat, but when you don't have a choice, you don't have a choice. Here comes the sketchy part. Ow. phone was right there, right beside my face. I didn't realize it. Alright, so mounted back in. Of course, I didn't make it far, so I didn't have to put too terribly much back together. This section has to come back apart. The axle has to drop down. And go all the way to the back. It's got very teeny tiny splines up here, but that's where it goes. What in the world? How'd that happen? Grease everywhere back here. Alright, I gotta have some persuasion. Ow. And these rocks are rough. Now the same way we took it off is going to be the same way we put it on. Tappy tappy. I lied. It's not going to go on that way easily. Well, maybe it will. It's already partially on. Let's see. It's on there. It's back on there, rather. We're going to take our 15 and tighten it up. Just a second. Alright, so that's going to conclude this video. The name of it's going to be I Got Defeated by a Cadillac. I have to replace that CV axle back there in the back on the right hand side after I put this the rest of the way back together. Thanks for watching.